Welcome to Stardust Stereo. I'm Parker McPhinney. I'm your host. Today's the 9th of May, year 2025. Today I'm going to talk about our new Pope, Pope Leo. Pope Leo was born on September 14th, year 1955. We don't have a birth time, and even if we did, that would create a little bit of an issue because he was born in Chicago. And in Cook County in Chicago, they had a habit at the time he was born, those years that he was born, it was in the 50s, that they recorded it as standard time even though it could have been daylight savings time. So this has created issues for people that are born in Chicago at particular time periods. In a way, it doesn't even matter that we don't have his exact birth time. We do, however, have the exact time that the white smoke came out of the Sistine Chapel, and it was at 6:08 on May 8th, 6:08 p.m. on May 8th. Vatican City. So we know that's when he got the job. So I'll be talking about the aspects in the sky and how they affect his chart. And he does show a promotion. I can say instantly there was a promotion aspect in his chart. But first let's talk about the new lovely Pope. And I do believe that he will be a very equal-minded, practical, and pious Pope. Virgo is known for being very practical and frugal and perfect obsessed sometimes. Actually, a lot of times. So when the Pope was born, the sun was at 20 degrees Virgo. Venus was right behind it at 24 degrees Virgo. And right before the sun rising above it is Mars at 11 degrees Virgo. So he's got a lot of Virgo going on. Plus, using that 6 a.m. time, since we don't know what time he was born, gives him a moon at 27 degrees of Leo. But I have suspicion that he's what we call a double Virgo. I'm going to look at his chart as if he had a Virgo moon and analyze it from that perspective. I may dip in a little bit if it's a Leo moon at the analysis at some point, but we don't want to get too confused. And since we don't know exact time, can you see why astrologers get really nitty-picky about time? Because it really does make a difference. Our wonderful new Pope has Jupiter in Leo, he has Uranus in Leo, and he has Pluto in Leo, and he might have the moon in Leo. And when he has a cluster, when it shows in the chart that someone has a cluster of planets together in one particular sign, it's called a stellium, and its influence is extremely strong in the chart, overriding characteristics of that particular sign. And so basically we can look at his chart and say there's a lot of Virgo and Leo going on here with some other accents. Since Leo energy is meant to lead, and faith is represented by Jupiter, and he has Jupiter in Leo, and it is in a very tight relationship with his North Node, which is his future destiny, his destiny in this lifetime. It was very clear in the chart why he chose the church. And with his Jupiter conjunct his birth Pluto, It's a little wide. It's 8 degrees. We can see why the church chose him to be the leader of 1.4 billion Catholics. Now that's quite the job. His north node is in the religious sign of Sagittarius. It also rules scholarly energy, so he would be a lifelong scholar. I have the feeling that he is very humble, even with all that Leo. And the reason I said that his chart showed a possible promotion, because we can see the 10th house, which rules rising in the community and your mission in life. And he has Gemini up there. And Jupiter, which rules faith, whether it's in your chart Jupiter or in the sky Jupiter, it still rules faith, religion, the church. Jupiter in Gemini currently is in his 10th house. Now, even if we knew his time, in astrology there's a technique called sun sign astrology, and it's where you just take the sun sign and you put that on the ascendant, and the ascendant being the 9 o'clock dial, which a lot of astrologers do that. They don't pay any attention to what time you were born to determine that 9 o'clock dial zodiac position, which is also called the ascendant. So they don't bother, some astrologers don't bother with all that, because you know what? The fact is, in a lot of Arabic countries, they don't record the time, or they guard that time like it is the golden key to the hidden treasure, which in a way it is. And if you were adopted, you may not have access to your birth records. And if you're older, and a lot of times in the country, they didn't record it. Or if they did record it and your records got lost, hospital burnt down. I actually did have a client once that she swore she couldn't find her birth time, and she knew what hospital, and I begged her to call them, and she said, oh, it burnt down. I said, call them anyway. They have a new hospital, right? And she said, yeah. I said, just do the footwork. Lo and behold, she got her birth time. It's amazing. So sometimes even if the hospital burns down, you can still get your birth time. Don't ask me how, but sometimes you can. Sometimes there's miracles in the world. And speaking of miracles, this particular Pope has the miraculous job of bringing together people who have different ideas of where the church should be going, what direction it should go in. I feel like he will do an excellent job of balancing the progressiveness and the conservativeness that will be demanded in the future, because one of those areas will have a tug of war. Do we go forward, or do we stay true to the purity of our doctrine, which I do believe he will? That Virgo energy is a perfectionist, so he will not want to lead the flock astray. But what really tells me of why he got elected was the Jupiter at the top of the chart was almost exact conjunct his south node in the 10th house. It was like 40 minutes arc from being exact. Jupiter is at 22 degrees and 56 minutes arc Gemini when that white smoke came out. And his south node is at 22 degrees Gemini and 10 minutes arc. Arc minutes are not the same as clock minutes. Just saying. Okay. Now what else was going on? So, and with Jupiter at the top of this chart, yep, he got a promotion, but he also got a lot of responsibility. And the weight of that responsibility will be felt by him. The other interesting element is that the south node in the sky is rising up to his ascendant. It's in Virgo. The nodes in the sky, the North and South Node, are in Pisces and South Node in Virgo. North Node being destiny, South Node being what you've perfected. So in some ways, with Jupiter conjunct his South Node, he will be able to show his ability to put people at ease, address the masses when giving mass, because his South Node's in the sign of Gemini. This is not a slouch when it comes to communication. He has perfected that ability to listen and hear. Pope Leo is an excellent communicator. That's not just from the South Node in Gemini. That is also because he has Mercury in Libra in his chart. And Libra always wants everybody to get along. They can't stand to argue. So he is a great mediator, diplomat, comforter, and I bet he's a stickler for beauty too. His big task is going to be, with Pluto in the sky in Aquarius, retrograde. It's been retrograde for a few days now. It won't go back to the degree of his Chiron in his chart. He has Chiron in Aquarius at 0 degrees. Chiron is the maverick, and it's also the wounded healer. So when he was born, Chiron was at 0 degrees Aquarius, and so Pluto's been going across it. It won't go across anymore, but it's still like 2.5 degrees from it. And the wound that the church has about the abuses that have been covered up and not fully investigated or swept under the rug, that's not going to go away. And he will be responsible now for the one that is able to try to heal that very black spot on the church and heal the people that were affected by misbehavior by other clergy. So his Jupiter, his birth Jupiter, is close to Pluto, and this makes for strong, creative energy and an incredible ability to take your beliefs absolutely to the depth. Jupiter and Pluto in Leo personifies absolute power. So this man does now have the kind of power that we can only imagine. That power, if it is wielded correctly, can do tremendous good. He was born with the Sun conjunct Venus, which gives him a very loving energy. And since he both has Venus, female, and Mars, representing the man, in Virgo, with the Sun in between, that shows that he will be able to both communicate with both sexes in his congregation, with the nuns and all the other priests, be able to really listen and hear and come up with some pretty practical solutions to some of the issues that the church has. Now, one of the areas that we will be seeing come up, not immediately, mind you, but soon, all of his Virgo, the Mars, the Sun, the Venus, and possibly Moon, will be squaring the Vatican's Sun, Moon, and Mercury. So at one point, there will be a little bit of a tug of war on how things are communicated. The fact that he has a Libra Mercury helps offset any disagreements about the direction that the administration sees the church wanting to go in versus the ideas that he has from his understanding of his job that he wishes for the church to go in. And one of those issues may come up fairly soon because there's a solar eclipse at the end of September at 29 degrees Virgo, and that will be conjunct his Venus. It will have something to do with money and females. Now, I don't really think he's going to be the Pope that says the female can have more functions in the hierarchy of the church, but it may come up for discussion. And another little area that I see that could create a little bit of contemplation is the fact that his Pluto, the Pope's Pluto at 27 degrees Leo, is in an almost exact square with the Vatican's Jupiter. The Vatican has Jupiter in Taurus. Again, this brings up money, and I think that that may have something to do with the payout that people who have been abused by clergy in the past are permitted. That may be a little bit of discussion that gets heated. With the Vatican taking one perspective and Pope Leo taking another. A little tidbit for you, the last Pope that was with the name Leo was in 1878, and he started his reign 1878, February 20th is when he was made Pope. And what is fascinating to me is during that period when he was introduced as the new pontiff, Saturn in the sky was in Pisces, just like it is today. Saturn changes signs every 2.5 years, and of course this was 1878, which was a long time ago, but ironically, the last pope with the name of Leo also got his new job when Saturn was in Pisces. Now, Saturn in Pisces will be very important for the church because it is currently in a wide square to the Vatican's chart, specifically its sun, its moon, and its Mercury. And therefore, I believe that this new Pope Leo will be touching on some traditions, parts of the doctrine that need to be taken into consideration of our modern time. I don't think he's going to do anything radical. We are not going to see any transgender priests, okay? That's not going to be happening. And I don't know that we'll even see any female bishops. But I do believe that he is in touch with the modern times and the people. Now, he was in Peru for a very long time, is much beloved there. And I think that in that experience, that is why he is similar to Pope Francis. And I just found another little signature. The lunar eclipse that we had on March 14th was at 23 degrees Virgo, and that was conjunct his Venus. When we're really going to see some big shifts will be August 2026, because there is a total solar eclipse then at 20 degrees Leo, and that eclipse will be conjunct his Jupiter. So when an eclipse happens on the Pontiff's Jupiter, you can believe some big choices are made and some new areas are covered. So I would look out for about a year and a few months from now, that's when he's going to make his mark. That's when events will take place that truly will show you who this man is. But he's already showed us so much, because the first words he spoke were, "Peace be with you." And interesting, the past recent Pope Leo of 1878 was really big on workers' rights and peace, which that should just be given. But it isn't always the case that pontiffs take it as their important work to promote peace on earth as much as they can. I do feel that this new Pope will. So we want to wish Peace Pope Leo the best of health. We've already heard that he has a great sense of humor and he's down to earth. And I hope that he reflects some of that humor in his discourses that he gives, because humor is a healer. I will probably be revisiting Pope Leo's chart again, because there's so much to say. I'd like to thank you for listening. I'm Parker McPhinney. This is Stardust Stereo. I'd like to thank my patrons. You know who you are. And if you'd like to become a patron, you can do so at patreon.com/ParkerMcP. And I'd like to remind you, you are made of stardust. So go shine.